Do you know that medically, and it's been proven, and I can attest to this, your 70s, that decade, is actually the happiest period of your life. And you think to yourself, how could that be? Well, it just is. And honestly, here's your opportunity to make that happen. Here's your opportunity to recraft and reshape what aging should be and is about. Hi, everybody. I want to reintroduce myself. So I'm Diane Gilman, and I am the proud host of the podcast Too Young to Be Old, that is actually titled as my second book also. And who am I? Well, I was for 30 years known as the Queen of Jeans on Teleretail, QVC, HSN. And at a certain point in my career, when I was 77, I decided to step back from teleretailing and turn around and give myself a voice as an aging woman, as a baby boomer, as a proud American, and as somebody who wants to be part of redefining aging. So if I had to title this particular podcast, which is a celebration of our 50th episode for Too Young to Be Old, I think I would title it, Who Do You Think You Are Having Your Own Podcast? Who wants to listen to an old lady? Well, I do. I want to always, first of all, be too young to be old. And what does that mean? That means what is in your heart and what is in your head can always keep you young and in step with whatever is going on and swirling around us in the outside world. What was the best advice? Okay, so I turn around and I say, oh my gosh, what am I going to be? Who am I if I'm going to go and have my own YouTube channel? And the answer is be yourself. Well, who is myself? I was a fashion girl. I was a fashionista. I was someone who eats, lives, and breathes fashion. But you know what? I figured out as I stepped away from fashion, I was so much more. I was somebody super interested, basically, in aging differently. So the next great piece of advice I got was, whatever you present what you are passionate about. Use your voice for the good. Well, I'm passionate about aging differently. And somebody asked me the other day, because right now I have an injured knee and I'm using a cane and I hate it. And I feel like, oh no. And they said, well, Diane, a lot of women your age use a cane. What did you think aging was going to be? And I said, that was just going to be my hair color changing. Honestly, I never could accept aging being a decline, and I still don't. And I would honestly say that is a huge part of Too Young to Be Old podcast. It's about seeing every solution there is out there. Let us do the research for you. Let us bring you points of view and actual mechanisms and devices that make aging so much more a pleasure, a softer landing, a space in your time here on earth that you're going to look forward to. The next thing I thought to myself was, What is retirement? And I thought immediately, retirement is not for you. Retirement is a big, dark, blank space, and blank is not what you want. I love setting new goals for myself, and I set very high bars for myself too, which means that the information we give you, and I actually like to call it infotainment rather than information, because I want it to be entertaining as well as having a learning edge to it. I want that to be so many different parts of life where you can pick and choose what relates to your particular life. But one thing I want for all of us, I want us all to feel we have a voice in our society and that we have a way of aging that is very, very different from our parents' generation. We have the medical community behind us. Whether you or I really understand it or not, we have artificial intelligence, AI, behind us, which says that AI may actually find a way for us to live to 200. And you want to live successfully. You always should want to live too young to be old, where your mind is refreshed, you're on top of it, you're contributing to society, and you're having a good time, and you're joyous. And that was a really big deal to me, finding purpose in life after work. And what did I do? I just put myself in a situation where there was more work. And I found that when I challenge myself and as I learn, I feel really good about where I'm at. And I would say if we took a survey, you would find that most women, because we age harder than men, let's face it, a guy can have 1/4 of a head of hair, a giant beer belly, be absolutely in an easy boy chair, and still be dating and get a female 20, 25 years younger. That is not true for us. So, you know what? For me, I want to be a voice for that. And no, I don't want a beer belly. And no, I don't want to lose 75% of my hair. But I do want to make women see that we can age in a way that's worthwhile. And if we really look at the playing field, we have made certain steps forward. So, Too Young to Be Old as a podcast, and I do see having 50 episodes as a true privilege. Too Young to Be Old is about your spirit. There gets to be a point where, yeah, you can take care of the whole physical thing, but it's got to come from within. If I had to say, where is the power in aging for women? It's from your soul. It's from doing something that revives the passion of your youth. And that was very interesting to me. When I decided to step back from teleretailling and television and my jeans brand, where atypically I created a jean and an incredible brand at the age of 60 because I honestly followed my own needs as a middle-aged woman who couldn't fit into a jean anymore. I find that if I use that same ethos and that same trajectory, here I am today talking about what I'm as passionate about as I was with fashion, but subjects so much broader. Maybe there are going to be solutions for you in these podcasts that you never thought of before. Maybe there's going to be answers for you where you say to yourself, you know what? I've been searching for this forever. But whatever you get out of this, it's going to make for a better way of aging. And of course, I love the Rolling Stones. And of course, Keith Richards, the bad boy of all times. I thought he had something so fascinating to say. I've quoted it before, but it's perfect in this podcast. Nobody wants to grow old, but nobody wants to die young. So, what is your choice? Your choice is age informed. And don't let all that outside blah, blah, blah get to you. You're in charge of you. Nobody told me I could do a podcast. As a matter of fact, there were all these eyes rolling when I said I wanted to do a podcast. All I heard was negative. Oh, there's a million people doing podcasts. Oh, who's going to listen to you? You were in a really narrow field, fashion. What? Guess what? I'm hoping you listen to me. I have a passion for aging that I think very few people have. Born to much older parents. My mother was 45 when she had me in 1945. That was totally unheard of. I had a ringside seat to aging. I had parents much older than all my contemporaries. And I saw what my mother went through health wise and had an emergency full hysterectomy and turned into a really different person. I saw my father retire young and basically not do anything the rest of his life, cut out coupons from, grocery stores to get a carton of Coke for 25 cents less. And, everything I thought to myself in that period was, I'm looking at aging, I'm not liking it. And the only alternative is to do it differently. So, actually, from the time I was really young, I was always mind forward and thinking about how can I do it better? What can I do? And how can I reshape myself? And then you know what? Middle age didn't just creep up on me. It slammed right into me like a giant truck. And suddenly I was 100 pounds heavier. Yeah. And a widow. Terrible. And on TV and couldn't even fit into the clothing I was designing. And I had to really assess where I was at in a way that had no information out there. No one even mentioned the word menopause. No one even discussed it. It was not to be dealt with. You were just supposed to suffer through it and live with it. And you know what? That is, to me, a punishment. And why shouldn't we see aging as a pleasure, as a privilege, as a time of life when you can pick and choose what you want to do, how you want to forward your thinking? But, along with that comes you got to push yourself a little to be modern. I was sitting in a meeting with a group of my peers, and somebody got up, and it really, this was in the last 4 weeks. Somebody got up and was railing about how they hate email and they've never learned to use their email and they're going to stay that way till the day they die. And you know what? That your choice, okay? But that also included social media and YouTube. And there is this fear of stepping into the world of the young and being totally bounced back and not getting it or having it be way too harsh or having it to do nothing with you. And guess what? Nothing could be further from the truth. So that's part of Too Young to Be Old podcast as well. Is taking you and kind of gently dragging you into the forefront and saying you can stay ahead of the game and you can stay informed, even though you're 55, 65, 75, and beyond. And if anyone had said to me a couple of years ago, you know what, Diane, you're going to have your own YouTube channel. Oh, YouTube? Really? What is that? I always say to everyone I work with to make this happen, to make this podcast happen and get to 50 episodes. I'm terrible at tech. I'm a technophobic. And they always say, Diane, you know what? You underplay yourself. You're actually pretty good at it. But I'll tell you what, as an older person and proud to be, there is that constant trepidation that you're going to go into the land of the unknown and slip and fall and fail. And actually, social media and all the talk we have in the modern age about isolation, you will never be isolated if you understand and appreciate social media. You can always be in the groove. If I'm up at night, chances are I'm going to be on TikTok and listening to my favorite bands and my favorite songs out of the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, into the early 90s. You will find so many places to reconnect. But I want to say that Too Young to Be Old as a podcast is information driven, and it could be information that I'm really interested in, because my feeling with modern medicine, and trust me, I appreciate it, and it saved my life when I had breast cancer 6 years ago. But there is also many alternatives beyond just medicine, which remains stationary for years. I know that when I got cancer treatment, I was told you'll probably be one of the last generations or the last generation of breast cancer patients who use chemotherapy alone. Oh, yeah, thank you. I would have rather moved on to something else, but okay. So you see that progress moving forward. You don't necessarily understand it, but there were even alternatives beyond that. So I was just recently diagnosed with a severe arthritis in one knee, and I found that red light therapy, which my hospital absolutely does not want to talk about. They only sort of want to talk about things they do for you, that the red light therapy has made a big difference for me. So what do I want to do when that happens? I want to bring it to our podcast, Too Young to Be Old. I want to explain to you all the alternatives you may have that are not readily explained or available to you by your medical community. You may live in a small town. Hey, you may live in a major urban hub like I do in New York City and still not have hyperbaric chamber, which is my next big adventure, or red light therapy, LED therapy explained to you. We're here to do that for you. We're here to entertain you and at the same time bring you expert advice, offer you options. Because I think if we're going to live in modern times, and we're here in our 60s and our 70s and our 80s and our 90s and beyond, there has to be a reason why. So number one, it's about keeping your passion alive. Number two, our podcast is about finding your purpose in whatever moment you're living within. And you know what? I don't see my purpose, which is to bring you information and solutions and possibly better ways to live, and certainly interesting alternatives. Yours may be something like baking the best chocolate chip cookie, which I wish I had one right now, um, for your church bake sale and being known in your town for that. Whatever gives you satisfaction, whatever makes you feel good about yourself, and ways of slowing down that aging process, not for vanity purposes, although you're looking at one of the most famous persons alive, but for purposes of being effective within your own life. And I'll tell you what, and I'm just going to sum this up, and the reason for too young to be old. People, we are the baby boomer generation, most powerful generation on earth. We have actually taken America into being a graying nation, which means there are more citizens over 55 than under. And yet we have no voice. The only thing that you ever see that says we're here at all are drug commercials on cable TV. So where do we pick up our voice again from the 60s into the 70s when we were loudmouths and we made it happen and we made changes? That's where I hope my podcast comes in and gives you all these different alternatives to purpose and passion and interests. And let this be the best time of your life. Do you know that medically, and it's been proven, and I can attest to this, your 70s, that decade, is actually the happiest period of your life. And you think to yourself, how could that be? Well, it just is. And honestly, here's your opportunity to make that happen. Here's your opportunity to recraft and reshape what aging should be and is about. It should be your joyous time. It should be your most precious moments time. It should be purposeful. It should be, honestly, like your youth and your middle age, full of triumph. And you know what? I'm working, honestly, as hard as I did in my 40s, 50s, and 60s, but I'm working smarter and I'm working more to what is good for me and can make me a more powerful voice. So, how did I get here? Just very briefly. When I decided that I was not growing or learning, um, and I had 30 years on TV, and I was number one in tele-retail for fashion, and I loved being number one, don't get me wrong, and I loved the whole process of fashion, but I thought to myself, I'm not expanding my life, and I'm not eternal. And what am I going to do with the rest of the time I have? I already had a major health scare and sort of an alarm going off in your head when you have something like breast cancer that says you're not going to be around forever. You realize, oh my God, what am I going to do with the time I have? I wanted to do something important. I wanted to do something legacy building. And I wanted to do something that I was good at. And I thought that, okay, I've learned broadcasting skills. So that kind of coordinates with podcasting. And then the more I listened to podcasts, the more I loved them. And it kind of reminded me of the olden days when we only had radio and we loved it. And that's where we got all our information and our music. And so here I am, and I thank you so much for allowing me to celebrate 50 podcasts. That to me is really fantastic. So many of you are just finding out that this is where I am now, that I loved HSN and QVC, but I decided to take a big, I'm going to say growth step forward as the years kind of added on. And you know what? It is a privilege to serve you. It is a privilege if I can make you happier or make you feel smarter or activate you to do something that's going to make your life fuller and more enriched. That is what Too Young to Be Old is all about. And you know what, people? I'm passionate about it. And it means the world to me that you listen in to our episodes. So if I could say 50 thank yous in a row for 50 episodes, I would. But I'm just going to leave you with this. Aging is a privilege, not a punishment. Aging should be a pleasure. And the more information you have about it, and the more you can cushion yourself and enhance yourself in these years, the better off we all are. And I aim to give you that. And with all my heart, I wish for you that you will always be too young to be old. Thank you so much for listening to Too Young to Be Old podcast. The episode may be over, but the fun doesn't have to stop here. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at The Diane Gilman, or visit our website, thedianegilman.com. If you like the show, leave us a rating or a review and subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. And until then, don't forget, age is just a number. Together, we'll prove that we are all too young to be old.